Hey guys, this is a new one, and I'm glad that you're joining me. Um, I have to admit that I feel rather uncomfortable about a few things I'm going to discuss today, but I guess I have to swallow the frog, as they say. Well, the frog is because it's all about things we do not expect. uh, we might know, but somehow, somewhere in the back of our head, but we hope that they are not true or anything like that. Anyways, now I'm swallowing the frog. So, a few years back, a manager at work told me go back to dot dot dot, named one of my countries. Um, And that was the time when all top-scale relentless bullying were going on in full force. That and some other remarks, like another person at the office who asked me with a smile, of course, if I still like this country. Well, I responded that the country is just a togetherness of soil, jungle, sea, and so on. So I hadn't been hurt by any of those. Why shouldn't I like the country? And the look on her face was something way over disappointment. I don't know what she expected me to say, just to express hate for everything and everybody. Well, uh, I don't think I will ever get there. So this happened a few times, different locations, different people, and the same reaction. Well, I would be happy if somebody would say that my country is nice. Well, anyways, there were some other situations, and I was under a very clear impression that what the gang stalkers and bullies wanted was for me to leave, which, by the way, I did organize and prepare to do on December 2019 before the pandemic. But a few days before my departure, a family drama forced me to stay here. I was not happy about that. Well, I had not resigned from work, so I went back right away because even though I knew they would know that I was gone, I wanted them to wonder if I was gone forever, uh, the dream had come true or what. Well, it did not work out as I had planned, and I went back to work the the week just normal. And then I worked with them until December 10th, which was my last work day. And of course, obviously, I didn't look, uh, I had to look for a house because I had already informed the owner that I was leaving. And that's how I ended in the north side of Dock. Um, I was made redundant on December 10th, which would be my last workday. And of course, I very obviously have been looking forward to leave and make the arrangements, organizations, and everything. Um, so one of the major steps to do that was to get vaccinated. I hadn't get vaccinated for different reasons because I was not planning to travel. We were all practically stuck wherever we were, and well, I thought let's wait for the developments, and then at the same time, I didn't have really much trust in anything which would be done to me then and now. Anyway, what happened? I booked my first dose. When I arrived, uh, I was asked to go to a corridor. In that corridor, there were a few cubicles at each side for vaccination. A nurse was standing in front of each cubicle, waiting for people. Um, I seemed to be the only person there who was going for the vaccination. The first nurse asked me to enter her place. I did, and I noticed that when I entered, she already had a syringe ready on the tray. Anyways, I took my clothes off to prepare for the injection, and um, the syringe was already filled with a clear fluid. The plastic piece which covers the needle from being contaminated was missing. And meanwhile, she went away and came back with a doctor who asked me some questions, health-related questions, allergy-related, and so on. And then at some point, he said something very weird. Oh, it must have been an allergy. I couldn't understand to what he referred. Anyways, I'd never seen him before. Um, so after that, um, I was not very comfortable, honestly. I have to be very honest about that. I noticed that there was a vial with dark gray cap further away. And when the nurse injected me with the needle, with the syringe, um, it felt like being stabbed. Not because of her injection technique, because it was actually very good, but I had this odd sensation which have not been rare for me here, actually quite often. And I mean, quite often that I had that odd sensation. Uh, Um, it was going through my mind. The liquid in that syringe could have been anything. Syringe itself might have been used before, or for how long that vial had been sitting there. According to the leaflet, they themselves handed over to me at the vaccination site, and the vial should not be kept at room temperature for over 2 hours. Um, Later, I asked one of my medic friends in one of my countries about it. Uh, she explained that except in a very crowded settings, like during the initial period of vaccine rollout, when nurses prepared the syringes with the vaccine ready before the patients came in, and sometimes uh, they would remove the protective plastic cap, just to inject faster. But the correct procedure requires to remove the syringe from the packing right before filling it with the vaccine or whatever is intended to be injected. Ideally, in a patient's presence, that would have been me. Um, Leave the plastic safety piece back on to avoid contamination until the injection is given. Um, I cross-checked that with the person here and also on internet. International procedures seem to be the same everywhere. Um, Anyways, a few days ago, upon my request to get the second dose, I received a text message and scheduled me for Saturday. Um, then on Friday, I messaged back requesting to reschedule. 3 minutes later, I got the message that rescheduling may not be submitted within 24 hours of the appointment, and I was advised to attend as scheduled. Today morning, I mean, not today, yesterday. Yesterday morning, I called customer service of the organization and asked about cancellation conditions. I was told that there was no time frame set for cancellation of the vaccination. In other words, the text message was at best misleading. Now, let's say the text message was a template which was set incorrectly. That's a little bit improbable because they are updated regularly, especially under these circumstances. I mean, with the pandemic, vaccination, and so on. Another possibility would be that it was not sent by the organization, which would mean that there was a hacker at the other end. Well, why would anybody want that I received that message and force me to get the injection on Saturday? Um, this doesn't really make that much sense, anyways. Apart from that, it is complicated to hack organizations like that. But there would be another possibility that practically that number was not the good number, and it had sent me all the texts and definitely connected with the organization, but not following organization's procedures. Anyways, clearly I didn't go to the appointment, um, and what is still more, even more clear, I didn't get my second dose. So the circumstances when I got the first dose or whatever they injected into me, the recent discrepancies and all that has been happening to me here, they do not really leave much space to be very optimist. So maybe somewhere else under different circumstances, normal circumstances, I would say, all this could point finger at IT issues or poor vaccination protocol or many, but honestly, not here. And for God's sake, we are in Europe. Well, um, I'm going to the bottom of this anyways, and I want full autopsy report when I die. Remember that. So, and I don't want the report filled here, somewhere else. So now, let's see. I'm not employed by that company anymore. Um, I filed a complaint against them on July last year, 2021, which with me gone from here, they could probably sweep under the carpet instead of delaying it like they have been doing it until now. Therefore, it would not be in their best interest to pursue with gang stalking, except if somebody sick enough within the organization continue doing this for their personal satisfaction. Yes, we have got that kind of people too. So once I told a manager that if the company ended all this, it would not mean that, I mean, it would not guarantee that the gang would go along. The look on that manager's face was a little bit like terrified by the idea. Um, anyway, that manager wanted or not, it is happening. So, and then the gang stalkers who are doing this are the same since it started years ago, with the exception of some residents of each neighborhood I moved to who temporarily may have joined them to move on later, maybe because they got bored, lost interest in what the gang stalkers were doing, or found something more interesting. And I think that this last option is actually much more possible because there are way more interesting things than harassment or something. And that's very bad for the soul too. So the gang stalkers do what they do, and that's their job. And others are people who are connected to each other through a group, which in my case could very much be a group of fanatic religious people, a cult or something similar, um, considering the number of involved bigots and the fact that uh, the fanatics, they have some mind is clouded, like, like as if a cloud has covered their mind. And that's the reason why they can't think well. So everywhere, not only here. That's just how fanatics are, and it's not related to geography. So, and the reason why I think it's within groups of people is because if there is one who knows somebody who can pull some strings, another one knows a different dude, and the other one has a neighbor who knows somebody in that place who knows somebody somewhere else, that there is the cousin and nephew and so on. And in this way, they create a sort of network of network that can influence different sectors. And Of course, all these people, none of them is in a higher position than medium, So, and I think even that is very improbable. Mostly there are people in the first level of whatever they do in their jobs, So the first ranks, anyways. Um, and this makes them actually become influential just by gathering influence from different parts, and then they can affect a target's life and mess with it. So what areas they mess with and the kind of strategy they use is different from target to target. Depends also on the assignment and some other circumstances like location, which is quite critical. Like, for example, in one of my countries, um, similar incidents occur more in regions with higher criminality level and corruption rather than other regions where people can hardly be intimidated and there is a good uh, protection by the law. Therefore, the gang stalkers have to think of different strategies because they don't accept to be forced to join them or do favors. Um, Based on the choices I have seen these groups make, it seems to me that they would probably hang to anything just to compensate for their shortcomings, um, which are mostly caused by childhood trauma. Um, they went through and they were not smart enough to help themselves through it, or they didn't get the opportunity to do that, or they didn't even get a professional help when they were an adult. Um, they choose to do, in this case, um, something that is easy, gives them a false feeling of being special, keeps their fragile ego safe because nobody is going to touch it. Psychologists would do that. So does not require any skills or any thinking, only planning. And that's something that only the section one does. I mean, the first part of the gang stalkers. Anyways, authorities are not immune to the consequences of a traumatic life either. So, well, they have a hard job to do because of the special duties they have. But they're also people, and they also experience different things everybody else experiences. So that's why we find in each job, every job, and every position, people with quite different character, with quite different ways, and actually uh, quite different thinking. So recently, I was looking out of the window. On the other side of the road, a skunk biker was driving a white motorbike, was wearing a white uniform. Um, it looked like a police uniform. Behind it, a khaki-colored van, definitely not civilian. Behind those, two other identical skunk bikers, followed by the usual skunk mobiles. Sorry. So, and yes, with siren and moving slowly, all their favorite formation. Anyway, I reported that, of course, mostly because these skunks, even in the improbable case they are real police, should not put the rest of police force on display as harassers, bullies, and whatever else skunks themselves are by wearing their clothing and using their vehicles. I hope that authorities will see how badly it can affect the moral of the good people in the force and do something to protect them. Um, and I have a message for skunks here. This is important. By wearing those things and by driving those kind of vehicles, you're not giving me the impression that the police force lacks integrity, honor, and everything that makes them special. You do lack all that. I cannot deny that these kinds of people, whether locals or foreigners, doesn't matter, have been living in hell forever. It is hard. Um, I know that because they let me into their world uh, for quite a long time, almost 8 years. Um, but I was thinking, does this mean that I have understanding for them? Mm, it is probably yes, for those who try to manage their lives in a human way, despite challenges. Um, but absolutely no for those who have been hurting me. That's absolutely no. And I have a plea to these creatures, both gang stalkers and others. Something that might redeem them in a long run, hopefully. Please, please sterilize yourself. Planet can do without your legacy. Believe me, it can. So I keep you updated. Thanks for following me here and have a great week ahead.